Yeah, everyone, it's 10 types, and the Pokemon TCG has a ton of cards that interact with other cards. And obviously, in order to interact with those other cards need to exist. And that's not always the case, right? As we'll see today. Normally it seems like it should be the case, right? For example, this Pidove here refers to Unfezant or Unfezant EX, and yeah, we haven't seen Unfezant EX. I'm just going to say that. So we're going to be talking about some cards today that refer to cards that don't exist, or will potentially be a lot better with cards that don't necessarily exist but might exist, right? These are all cards that have some reason for us to think that they might exist in the future, and some are really game changing. Some aren't necessarily so game changing, like this Unpheasant EX that may or may not be coming. But ultimately, I think it's a really interesting thing to take a look at, and I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. I've heard some real interesting comments about these different cards, some people's takes on custom cards based off of these, which are in my Discord server. I actually made one as well. That I'm not showing off in the video because a lot of it is pretty speculative, or just like purely speculative, to the point where it's just being creative, which being creative is awesome. But in this video, I want to be giving some actual ideas, and as you'll see, some of these cards could have a huge impact on the metagame as well. But the first card here is Pidove, which obviously I'm showing you cards that are real cards, which has the ability Emergency Evolution, which says once during your turn, which, by the way, this is one of those abilities that says once during your turn. As far as I'm aware, the once during your turn thing never matters. If someone has an example of when it would matter, tell me in the comment section. That I'd really love to know that. But as far as I'm aware, that doesn't ever matter. Anyways, if this Pokemon's remaining HP is 30 or less, it starts at 50, then you can search your deck for an Unpheasant or Unpheasant EX and put it onto this Pidove to evolve it, then shuffle your deck. And obviously, this is interesting. I will say allows you to evolve essentially instantly if you have a way to get 20 damage counters, or 20 damage last 2 damage counters on it, which is pretty easy to do, right? You have something like the Stadium. There's Gapejaw Bog, I think, was around when this was printed, but there's also Risky Ruins, which is the same thing. There's also Stadium Calamitous. What's it, Snowy Mountain, I think? Yeah, when you attach energy, you put 2 damage counters on it. So there are ways to get damage counters on this pretty easily, specifically 2 pretty easily. And if you do this, then you're going to be able to evolve instantly, which is really nice. And of course, then it evolves into Unpheasant. Unpheasant has a card. I don't even know if I'm saying this right either. But you have this one from Temporal Forces, the same set it came out in, but there is no EX, and that's interesting. And also there's never been an EX for this card. We saw this Pokemon, of course, printed in Black Bolt / White Flare because it is a Black and White era Pokemon, and it did get an EX, right? There were definitely some people speculating that, and that didn't happen, which is definitely pretty interesting to see. That Pokemon just hasn't printed this card, and it's kind of weird, right? But they might still print Unpheasant EX. It's possible because Pidove is not rotating, right? It has an H regulation mark. I mean, it is rotating eventually, but not in the upcoming month or so, because again, it has the H regulation mark. We are losing the G regulation mark cards. So ultimately, Pidove is sticking around for a little while, and we might get an Unpheasant EX to evolve this into. Funnily enough, if we get a Mega, which I'm pretty sure it doesn't have a Mega, but like if we somehow did, it wouldn't work with that. And we are going or / in the Mega era, which is like kind of funny there. But yeah, same thing if we get a new mechanic, or like an old mechanic, like the GXs or like the Vs or something, and there's an Unpheasant of that card, and then that isn't going to count there. This also kind of goes along with a Beedrill EX that was just revealed that refers to Beedrill and Beedrill EX, and there aren't going to be any single price Beedrills in standard at the time in which it comes out, but there will be in not standard. So figured that is worth mentioning as well. That kind of inspired me to make this video. But ultimately, this would be kind of cool to see. This would not be game breaking, I don't think. But it would be interesting to see. I mean, potentially it could be game breaking if you can just get some like crazy stage 2 EX turn 1 going first or second or whatever. But then there's another card pretty much the same as this as well, which is Antique Old Amber. Someone pointed this out to me in the comment section a couple of different times, or it might have been different people. I unfortunately forget their name, so sorry about that. But yeah, Antique Old Amber is really interesting here. It's an antique. It's like a fossil. It's not. It doesn't say fossil in it. The other ones all do, but anyways, Antique Old Amber is like, it's like a fossil, so it's an item that becomes a Pokemon when you play it, and it's got some cool things about it, I guess. And looking at Limitless, it doesn't even have all the text on it, which is kind of funny. It's missing actually the ability, which is a thing, but it doesn't really matter here. But what does matter is that it evolves, right? It evolves, and it says it on the card. It says it evolves into Aerodactyl or Aerodactyl EX. And of course, Aerodactyl EX doesn't exist, kind of. It's actually a lot more complicated than the Pidove example. So this card, actually, we're going to have to go over to a different database here, into the Pocket database, where we see Old Amber, or yeah, it's just called Old Amber. It evolves into oh, it doesn't say it on the card. Okay, that's like really funny. So I like don't play that much Pocket. I used to play it a lot. Actually, recently, I'm going to make a video talking about some different formats, including Pocket, and how it is useful for Standard. But I personally haven't been playing much Pocket recently, so I didn't even realize it like looked very different. But there is Aerodactyl and Aerodactyl EX, and these both evolve from sorry, I was just double checking. For some reason, I was looking at this space. I think, yeah, my mouse is there. And so on the lower right hand corner of the picture, where the evolution, the evolves into thing is here, which is interesting. Obviously, you don't necessarily really need that, right? Like most cards, like Pokemon don't have evolves into, but it is interesting there. But anyways, Aerodactyl EX exists and evolves from Old Amber. It isn't Antique Old Amber. It is a different card. I mean, it is like a different game as well. But ultimately, this card exists. It's actually kind of good, I guess. I don't know. I'm not super familiar with Pocket, but it definitely is somewhat interesting there. And there's just like one Aerodactyl in Standard. Aerodactyl, as well as all the other fossils, are also really weird. So we look at this Aerodactyl here, obviously in Standard, evolving from Anti-Cold Amber, as the card just said, which is actually an okay card, but not paired with Anti-Cold Amber. It's paired with various things to essentially copy it or like cheat it into play. But anyways, we have that card. There's also an EX, which is not like the actual, like the current EX. It's the capital EX here. There is also a lowercase EX. So there is a lowercase EX. The lowercase EX are kind of weird and confusing because they are like different but like the same. It's really really complicated. But anyways, they this evolves from Mysterious Fossil here. This one evolves from Unidentified Fossil, and this one evolves from Old Amber apparently, and so does that one. This one's a basic. No, this one's a stage 1. Never mind. It just says it here. Evolves from Mysterious Fossil again. This one, yeah, I said evolves from Unidentified Fossil. This like non-GX also evolves from Unidentified Fossil. And this one is a restored Pokemon, which could only be put into your bench using Old Amber Aerodactyl, which is, by the way, the card. It's called Old Amber Aerodactyl. Where is it? Which is like super weird. So it's just really complicated and messy, but ultimately doesn't really, like, I guess this is Aerodactyl EX, but I don't know. It's just really weird, right? Can someone tell me in the comment section if the Antique Old Amber card can evolve into this Aerodactyl EX? Because it doesn't say it on Aerodactyl EX, but it says it on Antique Old Amber. Anyways, it's really weird, but long story short, the card doesn't exist in Standard, at least. So that's a card that's being referred to that doesn't exist. That one feels more like future-proofing. Pidove also feels like future-proofing as well, I guess. But it feels more necessary on the Antique Old Amber, in my opinion, because otherwise, like, then you'd reprint Antique Old Amber, but like kind of errata it. Pidove still works if it doesn't go into Unfezant EX, and if there isn't any Unfezant EX, it like doesn't even matter, right? And if there is, it still kind of doesn't matter. It still works, right? The Antique Old Amber like doesn't really work quite as well there. But then we have another card. This is a very good card that I imagine most people are familiar with if they play the current Pokemon TCG standard format. That is Dreepy. Of course, evolves into Dragapult and then into Dragapult EX. The best deck in the game, pre-rotation, post-rotation. It's like super crazy good, right? Dragapult at a recent Japanese tournament did, unsurprisingly, very well. However, there's one thing that is really, really interesting. So looking at a current standard list pre-rotation, we see, no, actually, let me pull up not Charizard. We see the deck runs Neo Upper Energy, and you can also search it out using Hilda, and it runs Dusknoir as well. And I honestly still think this is a really good way to play the deck in the post-rotation format. I know a lot of people are playing Unfair Stamp and also not running Dusknoir, just like changing up the deck a lot. But I don't know, I feel like works really well pre-rotation. And it's not losing too many pieces, it's losing some pieces, but I think it can still function pretty well and pretty similarly post-rotation using Hilda. But there is one really powerful card which you can get with Hilda, which Hilda gets special energies and or any energies, including special energies as well as evolutions. And there is a really powerful special energy coming out post-rotation, which is Telepath Psychic Energy. I cannot spell and speak at the same time. There we go. Telepath Psychic Energy. It's a psychic energy. It is not a basic, so you don't get the upside of basic energies. So if you're playing Dragapult, you want to get it back with Night Stretcher, you can't do that. You can't use Energy Switch with it. Not that you're probably using that anyways. But anyways, it has some downsides being a special energy, but they're not too bad. Pre-rotation, there's a Luminous Energy issue, but they're not even in format together. It doesn't matter at all with that. So then I guess you are vulnerable to Enhanced Hammer as well, but I don't think Enhanced Hammer is being played very much. Actually, funnily enough, because Dragapult isn't playing special energy, so if it starts to play more special energy, then it like I don't know. You're in this weird cycle. But anyways, what you have here is this effect that when you attach this to one of your psychic Pokemon, you may search your deck for two basic psychic Pokemon, reveal and put them onto your, or I guess don't reveal them, but they go onto your bench, right? So your opponent sees them there. And yeah, you get to find some Pokemon. That's really good, right? We've seen cards like this in the past, and they've been super, super good. And this card's super, super good. However, within Dragapult EX, it's not super, super good because, I mean, just look at it, right? How many Psychic Pokemon is it running? It's running some. It's running Munkidori. You got Latias EX, Lotus Clefairy EX. You could run the Dusknoir line. Could run, I don't know. I'm sure there's like maybe some other ones you could run, but obviously your main Pokemon that you're attaching the energy to, specifically the Psychic energy, is the Dreepy there, and Dreepy is not Psychic. Now, I imagine some of you kind of know what I'm getting at here. Of course, Dracloak evolves from Dreepy. Dreepy, yes, in the current standard format, only has a Dragon Pokemon, but in the past, it's only appeared as Psychic. We could see a Psychic Dreepy. That's not a crazy thing to expect. Just at some point, right? I imagine if we saw another Dreepy, we'd see it in the Psychic type. I'm not, sure on that, but I think it is pretty likely. And if that happens, then that's going to be so, so crazy because you can just set up your. I mean, you could literally not be running any other Psychic Pokemon, but just be setting up your Dreepy super well with this. It's just absurdly good. Even like this Dreepy, for example, saw play for like having a usable attack within the Mew VMAX deck and some other decks as well. You don't need to have this, right? You don't need to be able to have a usable attack. You could just be like a completely underwhelming, useless Pokemon, and I could legitimately see it having like 40 HP. I mean, okay, no, I don't think it would have 40 HP, but I think even if it had like I think even if it did have 40 HP or if it had like 60 HP or whatever, it would still be fine, right? You're going to have a Pokemon here that is able to act as a way to set up your board a lot better. And yeah, Dragapult, I mean, it doesn't really need more help, but it certainly would not mind this either, right? So ultimately, I think Dreepy is, if we got a Psychic version of it, it would be amazing and kind of game-breaking. I think Dragapult EX is borderline broken post-rotation, honestly. Like, I think it's very good pre-rotation, and I don't think that's a crazy take. I think almost everyone would agree with that. And, there's currently 4 decks that are doing, like, above the rest, and a few of them are leaving the format, and the one's not really losing much. I've said this a lot, so I think a Psychic Dreepy would be potentially problematic and certainly very, very good. Then we have the next card in a similar boat, which is Oricorio EX. I actually made a whole video on this. This is the one that I'd say most confident about. More confident about than those cards that are being referred to that don't exist, including one more, which we have at the end. But you have the ability Excited Turbo. As often as you like during a turn, you can attach a fire, basic fire from your hand to one of your bench fire Pokemon. However, there is some restriction on this. Well, it is a basic. It only works if you have a fire mega in play. And obviously, that is a restriction, right? And looking at the fire megas in standard, we have 4, I think. 3. I think 4. There's 2 Charizards, Emboar, and Camerupt, something like that. There might even be another one, but I know there's those 4. And so you got those cards, and they are all evolutions, right? I mean, they're mega evolutions, but they're like evolutions as well, right? So you're not going to be able to use this turn 1, which you can't burst it into play either. You to be like setting up, your opponent will see it coming from a mile away, and there's not too much you can do about it. I guess you could cheat it into play, not Oricorio EX, but get the ability online early using Salvatore with Mega Camera Up DX. But Mega Camera Up DX isn't even good with the Oricorio EX because it's not energy hungry, and like it just has like almost no synergy, right? So, this card though, paired with the Mega Chargers, it's a little interesting, but it's not super good. It's kind of clunky. But if there was a basic, just you pop down a basic Mega and a basic Fire EX, a 2 prize EX with the Oricorio EX here, then you could power up your bench, and that's really powerful, right? I've been talking a lot about energy acceleration on like stage ones, like the new Barbaracle, or there's like Electric, or there's the Dugong, which isn't exactly energy acceleration, but it's like Armouge, which is kind of like that. This is like a lot better than those, right? Yes, you have some prize liabilities. 190 HP for a 2 prizer isn't particularly good, but it's not like you just like lose the game with this or anything. And the unlimited energy acceleration turn 1 is really nice. Only going onto the bench is a little annoying, but it's definitely not that bad. Ultimately, I think Oricorio EX could be kind of amazing, and of course we need that basic Fire Mega, and that would be, which I don't have here. It would be Heatran, right? Heatran is like, it has a Mega. It's gonna presumably get a card, and it's probably gonna be Fire. It could be Metal, right? I'd say I don't know. To me, Heatran is iconically Fire, but there have been a bunch of Metal Heatrans as well throughout the history of the Pokemon TCG. So it's going to be in one of those types. I'm pretty sure there's the same types. If they're not, then that's kind of awkward. I know one is Fire. As I said, I think of it as Fire. I'm literally like Jules Magma. But ultimately, yeah, I do expect we will get a Metal, or no, we will get a Mega Heatran. Hopefully it's Fire, I guess. I don't think this would be broken, but I do think it would be very powerful. And yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Fire, be good again. It's been bad for quite a while. But ultimately, I think that would be huge, and I do think we will get it. Maybe I'm over exaggerating the likelihood that we're going to get it. Ultimately, we either will or won't get it, but it'll be interesting to see. But tell me in the comment section, obviously, what your thoughts are on that one. Also, make sure you subscribe. This isn't the end of the video just yet, but I would really appreciate if you subscribed and liked it if you enjoyed the video. But certainly subscribing, that really helps me and the channel. But then we have the last card here, which this one's gotten a bit of talk. Okay, it's gotten a bunch of talk because the card is very good, right? It's Meowth EX with the ability Trump Card Catch. Well, there have been different translations of the ability name. There's one important thing about the ability name, which says that it's a once per turn ability, or once per like it's an on-playability, but you can once per turn use an ability with trump card in its name. And so obviously it has to have that in its own name, otherwise that doesn't do anything. And it is translated differently than any other ability, so it's not the same as like flip the script or something. But ultimately, this is interesting. The ability is very powerful on play search for a supporter, and that's not what we're diving into today. Though it is very good, but I'd be really interested to see if there's another Pokemon with a trump card ability, or some type of ability like that with the same name and the same restriction of being able to use one or the other. Obviously, it needs to be very good in order to have some downside to like the downside of not being able to use Meowth EX. Yes, Meowth EX isn't a card you're looking to use all the time, but I don't know. I feel like it should be on a similar power level, and it'd be really interesting to see this dynamic of like which one do I want to use. So I'm very, very excited to see if we get another card like this, because I really love powerful on-play abilities. I don't know if we'll get one though. As you saw earlier, because this card actually isn't in standard. All the other cards I've shown have been in standard, and they've clearly been neglected, right? Like specifically the Antique Old Amber card. I mean, we're not getting an Aerodactyl EX to work with it, except in Pocket where we did, or Older where we did, or Middle with a different capitalization where we did. Again, it's a big mess, but ultimately I'm really, really interested in seeing what's going to happen with this Meowth EX's ability. I think it could be something cool. Like, I think someone submitted a custom card with the same ability where it was like search for a Pokemon on play, which is like a really nice ability. We've seen lots of powerful abilities on Pokemon that like search or draw or recover stuff or something like that. So I'm really interested in seeing if they're going to do this. But tell me in the comment section what your thoughts are as well. But I hope you enjoyed, and make sure you like and subscribe. As I said, that really helps out the channel and gets the video to more people. But I hope you enjoyed, and as Osmond said, see you in the next video.